Welcome to the Torchlight Network. This is Dave Horwedel. The Torchlight Network is doing a series of interviews on business leaders and other professionals to find out how they are successfully coping with the rigors of COVID-19 and the resulting governmental regulations. Today we have on the show Joe Yazbeck. Joe is the founder of Prestige Leadership Advisors and an internationally published best-selling author. Okay, Joe. So first question we have for you today is, how are you coping with the rigors of COVID-19?
Rather well, actually. I wouldn't even use the word cope, David. I would use the word, turning this disadvantage into a big advantage. You ever hear of the phrase or the quote, "You can't direct the wind, but you can certainly adjust the sails"? And that's exactly what I did. I'm in the business of communications. I'm in the business of training top professionals in many industries, business leaders, executives in public speaking and professional business communications. And so everything now has turned to webinars and podcasts and virtual conferencing. And so I have made it possible for people to avail themselves of this technology of how do you master public speaking online. And it's very important for people to acquire new clients, very important to run their meetings or get their teams really working together. And it's become now a very executive tool. I've been busier than ever.
Well, that's great. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of valuable data from you. Now, also, you're a best-selling author. Can you tell us a little bit about how your book relates to this?
Yes, this book right here, which is No Fear Speaking, has become a #1 internationally published bestseller. This was published originally back in 2014. And now I've got 8 languages published of this book, and it's afforded me to travel across the planet several times to introduce my system, which is now a system of leadership communications to many different countries. In fact, I've had heads of state in my audience, and I've had people in business in many countries where I've trained them both online and live as well as one-on-one VIP coaching. And so it's become a rather exciting for me, a very exciting opportunity to really make a difference where I'm taking people that are really making a difference in the world and fortifying them with tools that they can use to really help other people and become better leaders.
Well, that's great. Now, and I'm sure the people tuning in, one of the main purposes of the Torchlight Network is we like people to see that they can do something to change the conditions around them. There are currently 10 million people unemployed in the United States. If some of those people were to start reaching out and others were to help them by reaching out and doing more promotion, maybe we can improve the economy so that things will be better for everyone. And I'm sort of curious from what you were saying, we're talking about, business leaders and professionals that I'm sure are your client base. What sort of problems does your system and what you have in this book, what problem does it solve for them?
Well, there's 3 parts of the book, which is what the system is based on. The first part is learn the mechanics and the structure of preparing and organizing any presentation for any purpose, no matter how many people are in your audience, whether it's on camera, whether it's a 30-second commercial, whether it's a 3-hour training, or whether it's a 45-minute keynote. You've got to know the design and structure, and I've designed a universal template for that. Second part of the training is speaker magnetism. How do you develop that confidence? How do you get your audience to feel comfortable with you and your confidence level out the top where you're really taking over the room and owning the space of that room? Lots of tools in the toolkit for people to learn, to exercise their skill. It's all skill building. And of course, the last part of the book is how do you motivate and inspire an audience to your intended call to action? A lot of fundraising people that want to learn fundraising learn these principles. Or how do you convert attendees in your audience to make appointments with you, or to go to your website, or to buy your book, or to become a client or a customer. You see, so like for example, for financial people, they give financial services or financial advisors will give presentations, but their conversion rates are very low. They'll spend $60 to $75 on a meal and end up getting 7% of that entire audience making appointments with them. Not very good. It tells you that they're not very good at learning the key elements of creating what's called a killer presentation that will motivate anyone to reach further. You see, and so all of that's in the book and all of that is in our training. So, you know, if you look at it, I'm telling you, David, right here, I could be talking to my lens on this camera like I'm talking to a person, and I'm going to deliver a 30 to 60 second commercial utilizing all those tools and tips from the beginning, from the attention getting opening straight through to that momentum building conclusion. And I've got somebody within a minute ready to take the next step. I've sent this video now out to my database. I've sent this video out to my LinkedIn or my social media sites, or I've just sent it out to my website and posted it on my website, or just decided to email it or message it, you know? So it becomes a very powerful thing when you have these tools.
That's very interesting. Now, I would imagine from what you're just, because I deal with a lot of people, and it's actually a very common problem where, you know, they just don't think they're good at it. And so they go around and they try to build their business without talking to people a lot. I mean,
I know, it's amazing. You're right. I've had people tell me, I'm good. I'll come in anyway and take your little speaker's audition. And they realize after I take them to the audition, they're not as good as they are. I don't try to deflate them. I don't make them wrong. I don't criticize them. I correct. There's a big difference between criticism and correction. And so, for example, people from Toastmasters will speaker. Toastmasters is a social club rallying around public speaking, which is good. And the good thing about it is you get a chance and an opportunity to speak, but it's not professional coaching. And so people that really want to be good, the stats and the numbers will tell you the story. You know, if you are speaking and you have an intent to get people to follow you and you're not doing it, you're not learning the proper methods of applying the correct technology to get public speaking applied to be successful and get results.
this is totally and utterly ridiculous for me to ask you this and put you on the spot. But suppose you had a guy he's converting 7% of the people to his call to action when he takes them out he speaks at a dinner or he does a webinar or whatever. And he came in and he studied, say, I don't know, 50 hours on your system. He read your book and he had some coaching and whatever. What would you expect? Would he triple his closing percentage? Or
no. He would 8 or 9 exit. It would be 65 to 70% or more, because there is a standard methodology to doing this. Okay, I've developed it. It works. I have had huge clients and many. I'm talking about like chief technology officer of Hewlett Packard to the chairman of a political party of a country, okay, that invited me to go to what I would say is 10 times the size of a Silicon Valley in Russia. And I've trained their top leaders. And these people have succeeded in getting their audiences to commit to what it is they want them to commit to. You see, I would expect to say 7 or 8 times what they're used to, because they're making it work. It's the combination of getting them the design and structure of a presentation, getting them to learn how to really motivate an audience, and then walk out and fill up that room with inspiration and motivation that people will move and follow you, you see, and you're doing it authentically. In my book, I have a chapter called Authentic versus Synthetic Speakers. And it really draws the dichotomy between both. There's also a chapter on the 5 C's of a commanding speaker. You know, those 5 C's are amazing. It's caring, confident, comfortable, credible, and charismatic. You see, caring is commanding. Okay, and people need to know that you care about what they care about. You see, so it's a lot of work. It's worth it. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of repetition, but that is how skill is built. It's built with practice and repetition. That's what we do in our training centers.
You know, that sounds very good. I want to make a little comment here. It might even be a useful tip for you. I have a friend of mine who he built a PR company. He's noted for donating millions of dollars to his church. And the way he did it is he had his client base all work out. He would do the PR products for them. And then after he did the PR products for them, he would say, you know, I can do some more for you in exchange for some stock options. And so he wound up getting all these stock options for doing X. They already knew it was good, so they gave him stock options. He did a bunch more work, and he made way more money out of the stock options. So,
yes, it's a very important point you just made, because you're providing people with something they need and want that puts the trust there. And nowadays, I tell people, you know, the biggest thing, and you opened this conversation up with how others can cope with COVID. Get yourself in front of a camera and appear and give a commercial and send it out and give value and give people tools like what you're doing right now, David, right? Yeah. You're offering people value that they could use, and they'll trust you. And if they agree with you, then they'll trust you and reach into you, you see? And do this frequently. Don't listen to anybody that says, well, you don't want to overwhelm people with too much communication. I'd sever my ties with that person. You see? Because that person's telling you, think small. No. If you're communicating truths and you really want to help people and you show up as natural, not as somebody who's trying to sell something, you're going to start getting a following. And that's where you're going to start building your business and accelerating it.
The other thing I really like, that is all true. There's one other thing I really like about doing this is because I'm setting up to do 3 videos a day, you know, but I wind up meeting and becoming friends with 3 people a day. You know, you go to like a business networking thing, and you go out to have coffee with somebody or something. This is a great thing to do, and it is, right? But yeah. But rather than having coffee with somebody, I'd rather interview them and give them a promo piece, because I'm going to remember them and they're going to remember me. Yeah, well, working together, you know?
Yeah, I am telling my clients that they need to do a podcast. Okay? I am telling them that because it is a fantastic way to not only build the reputation or put your stamp on that credibility with people, but you know, it's real interaction like we're having right now, and it's part of your PR function as a business owner. You see, because you as a business owner are the brand ambassador for your company. And what better way to prove that than to express that brand in having people to speak with and providing value and benefits to those who are listening. Beautiful.
Yes, and I've been having a lot of fun doing this. And also, I've been, you've probably heard, I'm sure, Neil Patel, who's an SEO guru, you know, and he recommends people do podcasts. And one of the things that's cool about doing podcasts that most people don't realize is because the podcast audience is generally, they're really listening, you know, they're actually listening, you know, and
sure.
Maybe they're driving or whatever, but they're listening. They will sit there for a while and they'll listen to you. And B, they're an affluent, you know, client base who wants to learn. And it's sort of like, okay, who better to communicate to? I mean, it's a very, very viable line. And yes, I am, for all those out there, yes, you'll be seeing up my podcast soon, but you know, I'm doing like sort of one step at a time. Right now, I'm doing these interviews. Now, is there anything else that you want to?
Yeah, I want to say one thing, and that is, if you're a business owner listening, or a solopreneur, or you're like an executive in a company, or you're looking at transitioning, the best training is public speaking and professional presentation skill. It truly, truly is, because it will increase the impact that you make on your business. You'll be able to attract the kind of people you want in your business, and you'll be able to know it is a fantastic ROI. Okay. The ROI, or return of investment, on this kind of training is amazing, and it's in short order. So if anyone wants to go to prestigeleader.com, and there's a test on the homepage. It's a speaker's test. It's free. Take the test. It's a professional speaker's test, 25 questions. You'll get to rate your ability, and you'll have a professional specialist, speaking specialist, go over it with you free of charge. And that's prestigeleader.com. There's also, you can download 30 no fear speaking tips. Okay, and that's for free also. Okay, nofearspeaking.com. If you want to order the book, you can go to nofearspeaking.com and order the book in one of 8 languages. But there's videos on those websites, and there's lots of information there. And so, and reach out. I'd be happy. I'm very accessible. People can always reach out to me for a phone call or an email or something, and talk. Let's chat like this.
Yeah. One of the things I found most interesting with my tax practice and IRS debt settlement and stuff like that is sometimes, people say, hey, I don't want to do I can't do your services right now, but they're interested in something. And, I'll tell them exactly how to do it. I'll give away all my secrets. I will give away so much more stuff than you should. And you tell people all this stuff, you give it all away. And probably they'll call you back a month later and say, can you do it for me? Because they kind of got it, but they'd feel more comfortable with you doing it.
That's very, very true. And one of the mistakes people make, I think it's very important to give them value and to help people. You don't have to be paid to help people.
Right.
Okay. But if you tell them too much of the how, okay, it's like giving away the farm. Okay. And this is in public speaking and communications. Tell them the what, tell them the why, give them a little bit of the how, and then make them understand that there's more of that how if they want it.
Well,
exactly. They will.
And what I've also found, I've actually given away the farm before. And what I've discovered, and I'm in taxes, so you can give away the farm. And I've literally, a guy was in a financial bind, so I just gave him everything he needed, right? And, the guy called back later and he wants me to do it because they're in taxes, it's really hard to give it all away.
Yeah, exactly.
How much you give away, they're still going to be worried about. They're terrified by taxes.
Well, your industry is so valuable, and what people hate that you can take advantage of. What people hate, this is emotional. They don't like leaving money on the table. Okay, and you get to tell them you're losing money, or you're preventing money from flowing into your bank account because you're paying Uncle Sam too much that you shouldn't be. Something like that. And people are that crazy about that stuff. But anyway, you and I will have a conversation off of this call. I'd love to find out more about what you're doing.
The other thing I like, just going to make a little comment here though. The other thing I like about my profession is because my competition is world renowned for poor public speaking, poor communication, not answering the phone, terrible customer service.
Oh.
The most common complaint of a tax professional is he doesn't take my calls.
Yeah.
For his clients. That's why they come to me.
That's so true. That is so true. And you know what is another thing? I have trained CPAs. In fact, I have a major CPA as a client right now. And I have to tell you, he is aware that they don't ask questions and they don't know how to listen to the answer. You see? And you can literally steer a person to give you the truth of what's going on and make them feel comfortable, like you're not interrogating them. Because that's part of the communication process of making someone feel safe enough to tell you anything. And that's what we are, aren't we? We're professional service renderers, lawyers, financial services, accountants, trainers. That's what we're supposed to be doing. You see, so.
I remember once when I was working for somebody else, he had a client come in to meet with him and an IRS revenue officer about his financial scene. And they came into the office, and he was in there for like 3 hours, and he came out. And I go, well, and this was the guy I was working for at the time before I had my own firm. And I go, how did it go? And he goes, well, I think my client is probably going to be going to jail, because this is how stupid. The IRS knew something about him and what he had done that he hadn't disclosed to his tax professional. So he had no way of spinning it. He had no way of getting any sort of like, okay,
Yeah.
it was just like it comes up, in there in a meeting, and it's sort of like, so it is very important for all professionals to get people to trust them. I'm really enjoying doing this interview, and we could talk some more, but we are going to have to be wrapping up soon. Is there anything, we're going to put the name of your book, and we'll put some stuff here and how to contact you, your website and stuff like that. Anything else that you would like to communicate before we close?
I'm very open. If people are very interested, I do this. I'm very giving and inclusive. I would gift my ebook. If people wanted to email me, my email address, I'm sure you're going to post it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's J Yazbeck, the letter J, Yazbeck at prestigeleader.com. Anyone interested in getting my ebook, I'd be happy to gift it and send it to them.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, David.
All right. Bye.